Hello, I'm Oceana Covington. I currently attend high school and I'll be an 11th grader next year in Arizona.
I'm Megan Howell. I'm also an 11th grader in Arizona.
I'm Anjali Prabhu and I'm a rising 9th grader here in California.
Hello, my name is Chloe Rosalski and I'm a rising 11th grader in Arizona.
Hello, my name is Adina Russell and I am a rising 12th grader in Connecticut.
And our project is the COVID-19 Zip Code Decoder.
So for our project, we decided to focus on the COVID-19 pandemic, which has had major effects on the global health community worldwide. For our project, then we decided we believe that everyone should have the access to accurate and clear health recommendations and also have information about the threats of COVID-19 in their community. So in order to do this, then we created a web app called COVID-19 Zip Code Decoder. And this web app allows users, based on their zip code, to get information about the cases in their area, as well as other very important information.
After developing the initial idea for our project, we felt that it was crucial that we come up with a very clear and concise problem statement that accurately depicts what we wanted to create. So our problem statement was that the COVID-19 pandemic is impacting communities around the world. We believe that people need to have access to centralized information that they can use in order to see their zip codes restrictions and how many cases of COVID-19 are active in their area. We believe that if people are given these resources, they will be better able to make informed decisions regarding social distancing, quarantine, and potential isolation.
All right, Adina.
After developing the initial idea, it was critical for us to refine our goals and decide how the app would be constructed. We used GitHub and Sublime to code. It was coded in HTML, JavaScript, and CSS. We selected major city zip codes per state and added it to the decoder, conducted extensive research on COVID-19 and reviewed health recommendations, and completed app trials to ensure the app usability and accessibility.
Okay, so now I'm going to walk you through some of the more nitty-gritty details of our coding. So index.html is our homepage, and we'll show you the published website in a couple slides, but this is our homepage, and a user enters their zip code into a text box and submits it with a submit button, where it then runs through a script and determines whether it's going to display a zip code page or the error page. The zip code page has some hyperlinks with some information about COVID-19 cases, up-to-date information from government leaders, and some Yelp information for people to find local business information. Our error page allows people to re-enter in their zip code. And hang on a second. Oh, that's weird. Okay, CSS we kept pretty simple to make it clean. We used a colored gradient for the background, and then we enhanced the button and text styling. For our JavaScript, we used a function called changeWebPage. We took the input from index.html and put it into a variable called zipcode. And then we ran it through some if statements that determined if the zip code entered by the user matched a zip code in the database. And if it did, it displays the HTML file for that particular zip code. And if the zip code entered doesn't match any of the statements in the script, it will display the error page. So we published our website through GitHub. We will mention this in our acknowledgements, but I'd also like to mention it here. I'd like to give a special recognition to the Pitts family for their help in getting our website published through GitHub. They were a huge help. And so this is our URL, tinyurl.com/COVID-19 Zip Code Decoder. And if I go to this site, I can show you how it works. So this is our index.html page. And when I enter my zip code and submit, it takes me to the information for residents in 85032. I can click on any of these links, they all work. And then if I enter in, the wrong zip code, it takes me to the error page, and I have the option to correct that mistake and enter and run through the script and get to the correct page. So
So our research paper was a constant thing that we were working on throughout the process of creating our web app. So Megan, if you would pull that up, and I'll just do a little bit of explaining about it.
Yeah, it's loading. Being slow.
All right, thank you. So first up, once it loads, we have our abstract, and our abstract, what?
Just a second, it's being awfully slow. Okay. Anyways, keep talking about the abstract. We'll get there eventually.
Okay. So our abstract is basically a summary of everything that we did for our project, and it includes all of our zip codes. So you can see that right there. Our keywords for this project are COVID-19, pandemic, businesses, cases, tracking, and zip code. You can see our table of contents next. That's just to help the user navigate our research paper. Next up, I believe we have our introduction. Our introduction basically summarizes all of our research on the COVID-19 pandemic, which justifies our problem statement, which comes next. It provides context for why we completed our project. Next, we have our proposed solution, which, as discussed previously, was our web application. Then we discussed that our web application did function as it was expected, and our link to our web application is included in our research paper. Then we talked about how it was successful and how we could possibly improve in the future in our conclusion. We stated a little bit how our entire web app worked and a little bit about the coding. Then our future implications, we talked how we would maybe like to add more zip codes. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. Our acknowledgements, we'd like to thank Anvita Gupta and the LITAS for Girls organization for providing us with the opportunity to complete this project. Ms. Gupta helped us along the way. We'd also like to acknowledge the contribution that Stephanie Yen made towards the completion of this project. We'd like to thank her. Additionally, we'd like to profusely thank Braden and Bradley Pitts for helping us figure out how to publish our website through GitHub. We'd like to thank Mr. Pitts for helping to come up with another solution for the UI UX of the web application using React.js. We'd also like to thank Raylan Pitts for peer reviewing our research paper, and Lasya Srinivasan. Megan, can you help me with that pronunciation? Srinivasan. Okay, thank you for giving input on the UX UI of the web app. Finally, we have a bibliography which cites all of our sources used in the research paper.
All right.
Woo! Well done, guys.
We're not done yet.
Oh, whoops.
Sorry about that.
Final implementation and discussion. The construction of this web application was really successful, and although we modified the initial idea while developing this web app, the final product is functional and it works. Of course, the zip codes that we've chosen right now are limited, but the best part is that the information that we provide the users is reliable and consistently available.
As Megan walked us through how the web page works, this is in Word. So it begins with the user inputting their zip code into a text box. The inputted zip code is run through the database, and if it is outside of the given parameters, an error message will be shown, and the user has the opportunity to input another zip code. If it is available, they will be taken to an information page with hyperlinks, and the hyperlinks include a link to a map that displays COVID cases in the zip code and the surrounding areas, as well as direct links to the governor and mayor's Twitter feed based on the given zip code. And these informations are necessary to make informed decisions for their health and safety.
So in conclusion, our project has evolved to become a well-informative web application, and it performs its intended duty of providing the information to citizens of the different zip codes. And it also has all of the zip codes that we had. The total number of them was 32 across the United States. And our application has been very successful.
Possible future implications. This app is limited by the fact that there are so many zip codes in the US that have not been added to the database yet. So some of our future goals include adding definitely additional zip codes to the app, grouping zip codes by county and directing users to the county information rather than just zip code specific information in order to streamline the coding process, and also scraping data using Python scripts.
All right, now we're done.
Woo, well done, guys. This was a great presentation. Megan, do you want to stop sharing your screen and I can do some Q&A? Perfect. So my first question is, what was the top thing that you guys learned doing this project? Oh, each one of you can answer.
I can say something. I was completely new to GitHub, so because Megan created this GitHub and of course invited us all to it and we could all collaborate on it, it was my first time using it, and so that helped me get really familiar. And I also figured out it was a really easy way to just put all our code in one area, and it was easy for all of us to edit. So that was a really nice thing that I got to try.
Great.
Building off of what Anjali said, I was also new to GitHub and Sublime, so it was definitely a wonderful learning experience for me, and it was absolutely amazing to meet everybody and meet people across the country in order to complete this project.
Yeah, I've used GitHub and Sublime before, but this was my first time kind of going at it on my own and trying to figure things out. And so just the whole process of figuring things out, figuring out how to get help, and just figuring out like how to do certain things easier and more efficiently was very opening to me.
And Megan, you made recordings for the other students as well, right?
Correct, yes.
On how to use GitHub and Sublime,
Yep.
Basically?
Correct.
Okay, fantastic. What about Oceana, whose Zoom isn't working?
I learned a lot about, just through this project and the other projects I've been doing, I've learned a lot about the effects of COVID-19. And I also learned that, I guess just learning more about collaboration, especially across the board, across the United States and even across the world. So it's been really fun for me. And it was a very nice refresher on coding languages.
I agree. I started off with familiarity with these coding languages, but I'd never really used them to create a web page, and then working with everyone from across the country. You guys are all on the West Coast and I'm on the East Coast. That was very new to me, but it was also, I appreciated it a lot because I got input from people that I would never have probably met otherwise, and also learning Sublime and GitHub, which I'd never used before.
So did you guys sit together and code the HTML pages together, or did someone started and then other people edited, or how did you divide the work?
So we delegated work to different people, and we'd say, okay, maybe Anjali's going to work on the CSS and I'll work on the HTML or whatever. And we delegated it that way, and then we'd look at things and debug together and publish together. And we had weekly and sometimes like multiple times a week check-ins and planning and where do we go next type things.
What sorts of bugs did you face?
So we had a pretty pesky bug in our JavaScript one day, and we were trying to get our zip code pages to load, and no matter what zip code we entered, it would go to the same page. And we finally figured out we had a syntax error, and then once we fixed that syntax error, we were able to redirect properly. Just things like that. And we had a publishing bug in our routing error, in our folder routing and GitHub and stuff like that.
So for publishing, you're hosted on tinyURL?
So I put the link on tinyURL just so it's easier for people to remember instead of my GitHub link, but it redirects that to our GitHub link.
Is it a github.io page?
Yeah.
Ah, great. Yeah. That's a good solution that you guys came up with for hosting because it's free. So what's your hope for how this app will be used by people?
I think that we hope that people will eventually, once we add more zip codes and it has more of like a robust place to pull data from. Hopefully people across the United States would be able to enter their zip codes and be directed to accurate information. So it kind of prevents the whole Googling step. It is a way for users to bypass that and get information centralized in one location. And they can see their governor's Twitter, their mayor's Twitter, as well as like a dashboard and restaurant information. So it really is just a central location so users can quickly access accurate information.
Yeah. I think that's a really good point. And I think that with just a few small changes, you can actually add all the zip codes. So you can automate the process of getting the information for any zip code rather than having 32. How did you select the 32 zip codes?
People we knew, where we lived, things like that, big cities.
Is it?
We literally searched up like most populated cities, and then we used that information. We used those cities that popped up, and we picked the most populated of those zip codes in the city, and occasionally maybe one or two in each. So yeah.
I see. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. So that's really good that you guys have put together this framework, and you can expand upon it to have all zip codes represented. Great. And how familiar were all of you with coding before this?
I was pretty familiar with, well, I'd say fairly familiar with coding because I've taken some classes in high school, but so me and Megan have both taken classes before and we know a little bit more about coding.
And web development also?
Yeah, I developed a web app on Rails last year, and I had played with Git and GitHub on there. And so that's kind of how I knew. And we had used Sublime for that as well. So I knew about that already. And so I'm like, okay, we can use this again.
Great.
I hadn't done a lot of web development before. I had only created very small websites. So this was a bigger project.
Nice.
For me, I wasn't particularly familiar with either coding or web development. I had done a very minimal amount of coding before, but this really definitely helped me to expand my knowledge.
Yeah, I had primarily worked with like Python and then more recently Java. We had in school we also learned HTML, CSS, and JavaScript to some extent. So like Oceana, I had only created like very small websites. So this was my first time creating something like really extensive.
I think when we started this project, I was familiar, but I didn't know. I had never developed a website, never worked on something like this before. So I think this expanded my, I guess, knowledge or exposure to HTML, CSS, and then a little bit of Java whenever it was used, JavaScript. But
yeah, most definitely. And you use React.js, you said?
We haven't used it yet. It's a solution that we're going to be investigating. We haven't implemented it yet, but it's a framework that's been developed already.
Fantastic. Yeah, I'm familiar with React also. So if you want some help with that, definitely reach out. This is also a pretty simple web app. So React is like very famous for having specific components, and then you code those components. So there's like some simple changes you can make to the JavaScript, and then you can add React on top of that if you want more.
Yeah.
Great. So for the video, do you guys want to say maybe some last words about your project and about LITAS too? What the COVID-19 Taskforce has meant for you?
I can start. So this project was, I think, really important for me because it was one of my first like exposures to working on something that was actually going to benefit a lot of people, and that was something I was really happy about. Also, my team was amazing. This was obviously a really new experience for me, but they guided me throughout and they gave me so much help. And I want to thank, of course, you and the LITAS group for providing me with this opportunity because this is so important. And I really enjoyed coding this throughout the whole web application and developing it. So it was really fun.
Thank you, Anjali, for being a part of the team and for your hard work. and your guys' hard work in putting this together. Yeah.
Yeah, building off of what Anjali said, thank you so much, you and Vita and LITAS for Girls, for providing us with this amazing opportunity. I loved meeting everybody, and it was amazing to meet people, kind of like what Adina was saying, people I don't think I would have met otherwise except through this experience. It was definitely a wonderful learning experience for me. It was probably one of the first teams I've worked in like this type of thing outside of school. So I thought that it was a great way to really gain an understanding of how to like budget our time to create a project and get it done in the time frame that which we wanted to get it done in. So it was just a really great experience. Thank you.
I think coming into this project, each of us had an idea that we wanted to help other people and make something that helped other people, and I obviously did too. But I never knew I didn't know of anyone near me who I could work with, and I think coming into this community and working with this team allowed me to, I guess, foster new friends and relationships, and then create something that I don't think I would have been able to just create individually. And also just working with you guys from all over the country. So.
Maybe Megan and Oceana.
Yeah, Oceana, and then I'm going after Oceana.
Yeah, I agree with everything that's been said. For me, I've really enjoyed getting to be a part of this project. It's helped me to expand my global view and realize that we can, no matter where we are in the world, that we can make a big difference and that we can help people. And I've also really enjoyed getting to work with everyone. Everyone's been awesome. And thank you, Anvita and LITAS, for giving girls this opportunity, not just us, but others as well. It's been an amazing opportunity for growth and for being able to change the world a little bit.
Yeah, so I since I probably had the most coding experience and web app experience out of anybody on the team, I kind of took the role of heading up the team and figuring out how the heck we were going to get this done and figure out like how do we make sure we can get everybody to help and figure out like how everybody can learn something and get something out of this. And so I kind of took that role up from the beginning because nobody else was really doing it, and I had the experience. I also had the leadership experience, and so I think the most important part for me was not my own growth, but seeing you guys who probably didn't know really much web development at all, and seeing you guys want to jump in and want to help and get started and get involved and learn and start to build confidence and get there. And we built something that is impactful and influential, and we figured it out and we got it up and running when none of us thought we were going to get it up and running. And I honestly don't even know how we did it, but we did it, and we finished it, and we stuck with it, which I think is super important. And I think it shows a lot about all of us, our character and how we operate in this world. And I think that whole experience was very impactful to me. So thank you, Anvita, for providing us with this opportunity.
Yeah, I think that just seconding what Megan said, really your guys is making sure to finish this in the midst of a global pandemic, and your schools and APs and everything else going on really is commendable. And the fact that you've built this really impactful app is an inspiration, not just for all LITAS students, but also for students across the globe. And really excited to have your app be live and show the world what you've created during your time on the LITAS COVID-19